Nobody expected this after years of intense drama, memorable events, and memorable encounters. Love and Hip Hop may have just aired its farewell episode, and the reason for this dramatic finish is ripping fans apart. Insiders close to production say many were saying that a secret quarrel between Rasheeda Frost and Yandy Smith had gone entirely overboard the rails, and it's not just personal anymore. Toxic emotions ran high. Voices were raised, and what began as a debate about allegiance and authority turned into public humiliation, backstage pandemonium, and an all-out conflict in which Van could no longer control leaking recordings, deleted posts, and cast members. Selecting sides are now out in the open, but insiders stated that things became nasty between Rasheeda and Yandy. The network pulled the plug. Without notice, the team walked away. Cameras were turned off mid-shoot, and Vital fans are stunned that cast members have declined to return. The industry is buzzing right now. Everyone is wondering the same thing. Is this truly the end? Because if what we're hearing is accurate, Love and Hip Hop didn't just finish, it died. And the war that killed it is messier than anybody else. I thought the hostility between Rasheeda and Yandy had been smoldering for months. No one anticipated it to erupt the way it did. What had previously been a strong relationship established through years of ups and downs was gradually escalating, and it all came to a climax during a small private meeting that was supposed to be peaceful evening away from the cameras. Little did anybody realize this gathering would kick off a cascade of events that would leave fans stunned and eventually lead to the destruction of the whole Love and Hip Hop franchise. It all began with a statement that looked harmless enough at first. The gang was having Rasheeda, who had gone through a lot of trouble with Kirk, remarked, "I got Kirk. He's the one who genuinely has my back." It was not a dig at Yandy, but in retrospect, it was the spark that Andy, who had been sticking with Rasheeda through thick and thin, could not spark the fire. She couldn't help but feel betrayed. She'd always considered herself Rasheeda's genuine friend. Kirk, who wasn't exactly famed for his devotion, had stood with her even when things became bad. Being hoisted above her hurt Yandy in a manner she never expected. She tried to dismiss it, believing it was simply an accidental statement. But deep down she couldn't shake the sense something wasn't right. And the next days were stressful. Yandy attempted to speak to Rasheeda about how she felt, but every time she tried to bring it up, Rasheeda would shift the conversation as if nothing had occurred, which just made matters worse. Yandy's displeasure escalated, and the lack of communication between them became a noticeable problem. What was previously an open, honest relationship seemed like a chilly conflict, with both ladies refusing to answer. Yandy finally broke down in a private meeting. She addressed Rasheeda about the issue. "I've been there for you, Rasheeda, through everything. But now I feel like you don't even regard me as a friend anymore," Yandy said, her voice trembling with emotion. "How could you just shove me aside like that?" She was wounded, and understandably so. She had invested so much into their connection, and suddenly it seemed like everything had been tossed in a single minute. Rasheeda, taken off guard, guarded by Yandy's feelings, I tried to come up with a response. "Yandy, I admire you, but Kirk has been there for me in ways that you haven't been. I don't understand. Maybe I simply need him right now." The comments didn't sit well with Yandy. They were contemptuous. Rasheeda chose Kirk above their relationship, as if all they had gone through together didn't matter. The argument became increasingly heated, but what occurred next was much more surprising, and Yandy felt the weight of Rasheeda snapped. "So that's it after everything we've been through? You're simply going to push me aside for Kirk?" She shot back, her rage growing. "I thought we were sisters, but I suppose I was mistaken." The sadness in Yandy's voice was apparent, and it was clear this wasn't just about Kirk. It was about the betrayal she felt from someone she thought family. Rasheeda's face stiffened, and she immediately became defensive. "You're blowing things out of proportion," she said. "I'm not choosing Kirk over you, but maybe you need to realize that not everything is about you. I'm dealing with my own issues." But Yandy wasn't having it. The harm had already been done, and no amount of excuses would cure everything. "Maybe it was never about me." Yandy snatched back her voice, cold and harsh. The tension between the two ladies became excruciating. Starting as a tiny problem had now become a full-fledged disagreement, and it was evident that their relationship was on the precipice. However, the battle between Yandy and Rasheeda did not end. There was just the beginning of what would become a drama-filled season of Love and Hip Hop, with the producers realizing that the incident was getting out of control, and they sought to interfere, hoping to mediate between the two ladies. But it was evident that their schism was too deep to repair with a few cameras rolling. While the rest of the cast could sense the change, the previously idyllic group dynamic was now fragmented, making it tougher to pitch up. Despite the evident tension, No one understood where they stood anymore. The team was walking on eggshells, uncertain if we're going to see another disagreement or confrontation at any given time. The breach between Yandy and Rasheeda began to impact the whole production, and it became evident that the play couldn't continue in its present shape. The fans also sensed the difference as social media erupted with comments from certain supporters. Sided with Yandy, sympathizing with her sentiments of betrayal and grief, while some took Rasheeda's side and understood the weight of her connection with Kirk, but regardless of where viewers stood. One thing was certain. The drama was genuine, and it was only getting worse. The public conflict between Yandy and Rasheeda had become the talking point of the season, overshadowing everything else occurring on the program. As the season proceeded, it became clear that things weren't going. Every encounter between the two ladies seemed like it might get better soon. Strained, and their on-screen appearances grew more awkward. The scenes murmurs of a prospective departure started to arise. Yandy had she began to isolate Hurst from the gang, and reports surfaced that she was being given her own spin-off program. She planned to quit Love and Hip Hop for forever. The rumors simply added to the turmoil, making the already uncomfortable even worse. The tension culminated in a final confrontation during a group event, forcing the actors to face each other in the same room. The cameras were rolling, and the atmosphere was intense. Yandy and Rasheeda exchanged caustic statements, one seeking to outdo the other in terms of cutting remarks. The disagreement became increasingly heated, and it was evident that things were irreparable. The relationship had died, and with it, the final piece of the show's heart. The creators were left with a tough option. Could Love and Hip Hop exist without the primary individuals that had propelled the program for years? Would people continue to tune in if the fundamental connections were no longer intact? The issue was on everyone's mind as the season ended loomed on the horizon. The split between Yandy and Rasheeda had taken on its own life. A slight quarrel among acquaintances had turned into a full-fledged public fight. With each successive episode, the tension between the two became more difficult to ignore, and viewers were trapped in the middle. Their loyalties were split between two ladies who had been vital to the fabric of Love and Hip Hop for so long. Yandy, the strategist, had always known how to play the game on which she had built her career, negotiating difficult circumstances, whether in her personal life or on the program. She had usually kept a cool head even when others were losing their fury, but this time it was the betrayal she felt from Rasheeda was unlike anything she had ever experienced prior to their relationship. Shared was no longer there, replaced by a sting resentment that was difficult to ignore. And the worst part, Yandy couldn't understand how it had all gone wrong. She had always been there for Rasheeda through thick and thin, so was she becoming the villain? It wasn't only Yandy who was grappling with the impact that Rasheeda was experiencing despite her own personal anguish. She had always taken pleasure in being a faithful wife. Kirk was a helpful friend to Yandy, but with everything going on, she couldn't help but feel divided between Kirk and her spouse had been coping with his own troubles, and now the stress from the argument with Yandy was forcing her to her bounds. She had tried to hold it together for the sake of her family and profession, but everything was unraveling in front of her eyes, and it didn't help that the cameras were constantly in their faces. Catching every moment, Rasheeda's inner battle was getting terrible, and she wanted to rectify it. Yandy couldn't, and she wanted to rectify it. Yandy couldn't overlook the reality that she had a family to take care of and Kirk's incessant turmoil. The strain to keep her brand and the disagreement with Yandy were all adding to her feeling that she had always tried to be the glue that kept everything together, but it seemed like everything was ready to crack, coming apart. And the worst thing is that she didn't know how to stop it. Only exacerbated when Yandy released a mysterious message on social media. She had always been cautious with her remarks. In the heat of the moment, she let her emotions take control. You can't expect loyalty after you've been deceived. Fans soon started assuming that the statement was directed toward Rasheeda, which kicked off a chain reaction. The reply section exploded up with individuals taking sides with certain supporters, siding with Yandy and those protecting Rasheeda. It was evident that the drama had reached a boiling point, and there was no going back for the producers, who saw a chance to profit on the drama. Pushed for a face-to-face confrontation between Yandy and Rasheeda. They understood that the tension between the two ladies may lead to the type of dramatic scene that would have people coming back for more. But what they didn't anticipate, how intense and raw the argument would become when the day of shooting came. Both Yandy and Rasheeda were afraid to meet one another. It wasn't the cameras that made the scenario unpleasant. It was the genuine feelings that they both felt. Yandy had been the one to keep her emotions under control, but now she was struggling. Her face was tight with rage, her lips pushed in a narrow line, and she was prepared to face Rasheeda. But there was something more there. Profound, agonizing hurt, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel until now. Rasheeda, on the other hand, looked fatigued. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red from sobbing the night before. And she had never expected that things would develop to this degree. I was a peacemaker who wanted to avoid confrontation whenever possible, but suddenly, it seemed like she had no option but to confront the lady she had once considered a friend. The gravity of the issue was taking a toll on her. She wasn't sure how much longer she could hold it together when they sat down to chat, though there was noticeable tension in the air. "I don't even know where to start," Yandy remarked, her voice weak. "Rasheeda, I am faithful to you. Yet here we are. You have shut me out, ignored my calls, and Rasheeda, do you know how it feels to be treated as if you don't matter anymore?" Sighed heavily, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yandy, I never intended for things to get this far," she added, "but you have to realize, I have a family to worry about. Kirk has been going through a lot, and I can't simply drop everything to concentrate on this. I've tried to balance everything, but it's been difficult. I want to harm you, but I can't keep pretending that everything is good." Yandy's eyes blazed with fury. "You think this is only about you? I'm not asking you to abandon everything, Rasheeda. I'm asking you to stop pretending that I'm the enemy. You've been blocking me out for weeks, and I can't simply sit back and watch it happen. I've had your back through everything, and now when I need you turned your back on me," and the words lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of everything unsaid. Both ladies struggled to maintain their calm, but it was evident that the genuine passion between them was bubbling over, and the cameras filmed every moment in tear. Every syllable was said, yet it wasn't simply drama for drama's sake. It was genuine, and it was evident that none of them understood how to restore what had been broken. The remainder of the action played out in a fog of emotions. The dispute got increasingly intense, with both ladies raising their voices and accusations flying. They were, instead of communicating in the calm, controlled style they were accustomed to, they were yelling and weeping for the first time, revealing the entire magnitude of Thesero they had been avoiding. It was as if the dam had burst and there was no way to stop in the middle of the turmoil. Kirk had a surge of emotions. "This isn't the time, Yandy. Rasheeda has been struggling with a lot, and you need to realize that we're family. We don't throw everything away over one quarrel." Yandy, her face flushed with anger, shot back. "You think I don't? I know you believe. I don't know what she's gone through, but you're not the one who's been shut off from her life. You are not the one who has been abandoned." The tension between the three of them was excruciating, and it was evident that the future of love and hip-hop was hanging in the balance. This wasn't simply another dramatic moment, but a tipping point for the show. With their relationships on the line, the issue remained if they could heal what had been shattered. This is the last chapter.